Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ray Montgomery, and today I am here with Assistive Technology Specialist Mendi Evans. How you doing, Mendi?
I'm doing well.
All right. Today we want to talk about a question that I get asked a lot: is how do you operate a smartphone since it has no buttons? So I brought Mendi, since she's a tech expert, in today to give us some pointers and some tips on how to access your voiceover. So, Mindy, how, if a person is just getting their Apple iPhone, how do they access voiceover?
Well, if you have a brand new iPhone straight out of the box, you go to, your local retailer of choice and get a phone, and you've just taken the seal off. You should be able to just do a triple click of the home button, and voiceover will automatically come on. It may take it a second because, obviously the phone has to boot up or whatever else. So you, of course, turn the phone on first. You might want to have sighted assistance so you know it's actually on, but once it is, then you can triple click home and voiceover should start talking to you.
Okay. So if I've already turned my phone on and I did not do the triple click, how would I access voiceover?
Well, if you were to have a phone that voiceover is not enabled on, you would go to your settings, which we can quickly, I have a phone with me. So you go to your settings, and then from settings, you can either flick or drag your finger, which we'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so I have a bunch of. Okay, so I think I was in my notification settings because I've already been playing with my phone, but
Yes.
general, we need to go there, which I just happen to be lucky enough to tap on it.
Mm-hmm.
But you can flick to find that, and then accessibility.
Mm-hmm.
And then inside of accessibility, there are all sorts of things, but you have the vision heading. So if you were to press that, or have a sighted person do it, because if you're totally blind, you're not going to be able to see to do this, then you double tap that, and you have the option to turn on voiceover. It will give them a prompt that says this will change the way that the phone is used, etc., so that you're aware that just touching your phone isn't going to work anymore, and you confirm yes, and then your voiceover should be on for you.
So for those who are not as tech savvy as you, what is actually voiceover? What does that allow a person who is blind or vision impaired to do?
Okay, well, it actually is a screen reader on the phone, and so it basically speaks whatever is on the screen. Or if someone is deafblind, they can actually hook up a braille display to it, and it'll put out in braille what's on the phone. So if anyone out there who is watching is familiar with the screen readers that are on computers, it's the same thing but on your cell phone.
Your cell phone. So if you do have some usable vision, are there accessibility features for that as well on your phone?
Yep. So we have zoom, and we also have a magnifier.
Mm-hmm.
And then further down, there's things like smart invert, so you can change the colors if you need a different type of contrast. You can also just change the font to a larger font.
Display accommodations on.
Yeah, there's display accommodations. I think that's where you can find like your smart invert or your invert colors. There's also a thing for reducing motion. I think that might be inside of VoiceOver itself, but if the wiggly icons are a problem and distracting, you can turn that stuff off too.
So with that voiceover, once you activate voiceover, I noticed that you've been double tapping.
Right.
And is there a reason for the double tap?
Well, if you think about it, for someone who is sighted, if you're, scrolling around the screen, the minute you touch something, it activates it.
Yes.
Well, for obvious reasons.
Speech button.
If I would have done that, it would have activated speech, and I don't necessarily want that. So the double tap is so that you can't just touch something and it activates, because clearly someone who's blind is not going to be able to see what they're, flicking, touching, etc. So the double tap lets you then, you can either just take another finger and tap it, or you can actually lift your finger and then double tap.
I like to double tap because when somebody uses my phone, they're like, I can't type on your phone, right? It's always funny to watch somebody use your phone.
I'm not gonna lie to you. One time I was in a Best Buy and I had an iPod Touch, because you can do this on an iPod Touch or an iPad as well, just for clarity's sake. The same mobile OS or iOS is available on your iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch, or iPad Mini. Anyway, I was looking at an iPod Touch and I was going to try to prank the next customer and leave voiceover on, but the person with me wouldn't let me do it.
Always with the jokes, man. Right.
I was standing there to put it back.
Once again, now, before I put the voiceover, can you change the speed on the rate on how a person is, how it's talking? Can you change
Absolutely.
that?
You can change the rate, you can change the language, you can select from different voices. Now, you start getting a lot of voices, they do take up some storage on your phone, but I mean, you can, if you like the way Siri talks to you, you can use the Siri voice as your actual speech voice. I'm using one called Alex. When you pull up the phone, that is not the one that will be talking to you. I want to say the one that talks to you, his name is Samantha.
Yes.
So there's several different options to choose from. And then yes, the speed, or if you'd like to have a lovely British person talking to you, knock yourself out. You can change it, and you can also put things in what's called your rotor, so you can change languages on the fly. So if you're reading something and you'd rather it read in a different voice, you can do that.
Cool. So you're able to use all those apps that everyone else uses: Facebook, Twitter,
I'm gonna.
Uber. Most apps accessible.
I would say the vast majority. I'm not going to go so far as to say most, because there are some that are not, but I mean, in large part they are accessible, and if they're not, a lot of times if you know who the app developer is, you can communicate with them and they may be willing to work with you to make it accessible. So.
Well, I do appreciate you coming on and giving us that quick overview on how voiceover works. So now everyone knows how a person who is blind or visually impaired accesses a smartphone that has no buttons on it.
Just one more thing. If you're someone who is sharing a phone with a person who is blind or visually impaired, they use voiceover and you don't. At the bottom of the accessibility, there is something called an accessibility shortcut. And the same triple click home that you use to turn on voiceover when you got it out of the box will toggle voiceover on and off, or you can toggle the magnifier or zoom. And so it's a quick way to get an accessibility setting that you would like quickly.
All right. Well, I want to thank you, Mendi, for coming on and giving us all those tips on how a person who is blind or visually impaired accesses a smartphone. If you want any more tips, visit us at www.youtube.com/Bosma Enterprises. Also, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And if you know anyone who is in need of any assistance, who is suffering from any type of vision loss, visit us at www.bosma.org. That's BOSMA.org. Thank you.